Do you know what it feels like to discover your entire marriage is a lie? On my wedding day, I caught my fiancé and sister together. Humiliated and heartbroken, I was saved by Jason Law, my childhood friend who proposed on the spot and married me to restore my honor.
Aren't you worried Nina will discover the truth? Jason Law was quiet for a moment before saying, "She won't find out." "Are you sure?" "She trusts me." His tone was certain. "She won't suspect a thing if I'm the one telling her." After another short silence, his friend said, "As long as you don't regret it." Jason chuckled lightly. "I won't." So that was how it was. I stood outside the door, my nails digging into my flesh. It hurt so much, but I was going numb. I had only come here to bring him some clothes. It was getting cold, and I was worried he was not wearing enough layers. Now, however, I felt like my heart was being sliced open. A cold wind blew through my chest. I stumbled home, too exhausted to even turn on the lights. My knees buckled and I collapsed onto the couch, curled up and shivering. I felt nauseous and dizzy. Tears spilled from my eyes soundlessly, but I did not have the energy to wipe them away. The doorknob clicked. He was back. I heard the sound of his leather shoes approaching. He walked up to the couch and bent down slightly, his voice gentle and worried. "Why didn't you turn on the lights? The maid said you haven't eaten. Are you feeling sick again?" He reached out to push the hair out of my face, his eyes filled with concern. "Nina, what's the matter?" He then crouched down, putting his hand over mine. His tone was gentle. "If you don't eat, it's bad for the baby." I looked straight into his tender gaze. So love could be entirely an act. 4 years ago, my fiancé and my younger sister were caught having an affair at my wedding. My parents forced me to hand over my fiancé, saying family protected each other. They could not afford to lose face in public, so they declared that Rachel Gordon was the bride that day. Back then, Jason had publicly proposed to me. At the time, I thought he was my savior. After we got married, I stood behind him and silently supported him the whole time. I used my market acumen to help him invest and expand his business. Within a few short years, his company went from a nameless startup to one of the rising stars in the investment industry. When we went for IVF to conceive this year, everything seemed to be perfect. He hugged me and said this baby was the gift he had been looking forward to for years. His smile was so tender I could almost drown in it. Turned out it was just another trick. He was not the only one who could act. I blinked and curved my lips into a smile. "I'm fine. I'm just a little tired." My voice was soft and slightly tired, as though nothing was amiss. He heaved a sigh of relief and comforted me gently. "Okay, sleep early tonight." "Why not? I could play this game before the surgery. After that, the curtains would fall on this charade." The next morning, Jason took me to a prenatal checkup. He asked questions about every little detail. Even the doctor laughed and praised him. "You have a great husband. Not many men are this responsible these days." Jason held my hand, his gaze gentle. "I've been looking forward to this baby forever. Of course I'll take good care of them." When we walked out of the consultation room, we bumped into my sister Rachel. She wore a loose-fitting dress, and a smug look flashed across her eyes when she saw us. I smirked inwardly when I saw her round belly. No wonder she said she had coincidentally fallen pregnant at the same time as me. She had been waiting for me the entire time. She approached me with a grin and a light-hearted tone. "When are you due, Nina?" She even held out her hand to touch my stomach. My gaze cold, I smacked her hand aside. "What was that for?" Anger flashed across Rachel's face. Before she could continue, however, I lowered my head and held my stomach, saying weakly, "My stomach kinda hurts." Her words caught in her throat, and her expression instantly stiffened. Jason immediately held my arm, his tone nervous. "Was it because the checkup took too long? Do you want to go back and rest?" His tone was filled with concern, but I could see that his gaze stayed on Rachel, wordlessly consoling her. I lowered my lashes, saying softly, "I'll head to the washroom." He frowned and tried to follow me, but I waved him aside. "No need. Wait for me here." He hesitated, but eventually nodded. "All right, be careful." I went into the washroom, but the moment I closed the door, I saw him hurry off. As I thought, he had gone to comfort Rachel. I followed him sneakily, standing a short distance away as I watched him soothe her patiently. Rachel frowned and pouted. "Did you fall for her or something? She was so rude to me, but you didn't even defend me. Tell me honestly, did you feel bad for her?" Jason sighed helplessly. "I did it for the baby. After all, she's—" Without finishing that sentence, he took a beautiful jewelry box from his pocket and pulled out a brand new bracelet from inside. His tone was gentle as he put it on her wrist. "This is the bracelet you wanted last time. I got it for you." Rachel's expression softened. She smirked and said smugly, "I earned a ton on the stock you recommended last time. Do you have any other recommendations?" I stood rooted to the spot, scoffing at the scene unfolding before me. Jason was using everything I gave him to win her heart. I turned around and left, then took out my phone and made a call. "Hello, I want to confirm my appointment tomorrow." "All right, I'll be there on time." The familiar footsteps behind me came to a sudden stop. "Tomorrow?" Jason sounded confused. "Where are you going tomorrow?" I turned around and met his gaze with a smile. "I made an appointment for a pregnancy photo shoot. Let's take some family photos as keepsakes." His expression stiffened and he hesitated. I purposely raised a brow, my tone light. "What's the matter? You don't want to go with me?" He could not quite meet my gaze. No, I'm just worried you'll be too tired. Besides, I have a meeting tomorrow at work. How about another day? I looked at him and chuckled, my tone soft and considerate. It's fine. Your work comes first. I can go alone. He seemed to heave a sigh of relief. He rubbed my head with a smile, his tone indulgent. What would I do without such a wonderful wife like you? On the day of the surgery, Jason suddenly pulled out a small bracelet and put it on my wrist before leaving for work. This is for you. His tone was gentle as usual. I looked down at it. It was the free gift that came with the bracelet he bought for Rachel. My fingers curled into fists slightly, but I looked up at him with a smile. Thanks. I love it. His lips curved as he rubbed my hair, saying softly, You're always so sweet, Nina. Before going for the surgery, I decided to drop by my maiden home to visit my parents. Just as I was about to head inside, however, I heard the voices inside clearly. Rachel was complaining with a pout. Why is Nina always so arrogant? She even hit my hand yesterday. My mother comforted her softly. Just tolerate that for now, all right? We eventually gave you her fiancé when you wanted him, didn't we? This time as well, you just need to be patient. My father sighed helplessly. Don't make a fuss, okay? You finally married the guy you wanted. If your in-laws find out how you're getting this baby, they'll get mad again and Jason will be in trouble. Jason hastily comforted her, his tone gentle but determined. Don't worry, Rachel. I brought the prenatal checkup from yesterday. Everything's fine. We just need to wait until the baby is born. He paused and continued, Mom and Dad, you don't have to worry about me either. I'll do anything for Rachel. My fingertips were cold. All the blood in my body froze over. So they all knew. So this was all part of their plan. So I was nothing more than their pawn from the very start. Not long later, the butler brought over some tea. Jason opened the door to take the cups, but his eyes locked onto something on the floor. There were pearls scattered across the doorway, and a bracelet lay broken. It was the one he had put on my wrist. He immediately went pale, forgetting to breathe. He rushed to the door and looked around, his gaze panicked. After that, he blew up my phone. The moment the call went through, he said anxiously, Nina, where are you? I can explain. I did not reply. His voice grew even more panicked. Nina! Just then, he heard a nurse saying on the other side, Nina Gordon, please sign this agreement before the surgery. Jason felt like he was being choked. His breath caught, and he instantly lost it. A surgery? Where are you? What surgery? He practically roared into the phone, his voice unprecedentedly panicked. I looked at the screen calmly, drawing my finger across it lightly. I hung up, then turned off my phone. I sat on the hospital bed, my hands rubbing the sheets subconsciously. My best friend Anna was making some arrangements over the phone. A few seconds later, she ended the call and looked at me. Everything's in place. Her tone was steady as ever. It's all according to plan. I nodded calmly. Good. The doctor came into my room holding my chart. His expression was solemn. Miss Gordon, let me check again before the surgery. He flipped through my chart and looked at me solemnly. The baby is quite far along, so we'll have to induce labor. This could affect your future. Are you sure? I did not hesitate for even a second. I'm sure. He paused before asking, Do you have any family with you? Family? I scoffed. The family who claimed to love me and care for me were all lying to me, planning to give away the baby once it was born. I looked up slowly and told the doctor in a frighteningly calm voice, I don't have any family. They're all dead. The doctor glanced at me. He wanted to say something, but then he sighed and nodded at the nurse. Prepare the operation theater. The door closed slowly and the world went silent. The only sound left was the beep of the ECG. This was the first decision I made for myself. It was fine. My life would become even better without them. After the surgery, back in my room, I heard Anna's voice in my ear before I was even fully awake. Jason kept calling me. I gave him a different address, but he'll find out soon. The first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was Anna's worried gaze. Her tone was careful. How do you feel? I paused and instinctively touched my stomach. It was flat. My fingers paused on the empty belly, as though confirming something, or searching for something. Anna hesitated when she saw my movements and asked cautiously, Do you regret it? I did not reply, my fingers slowly digging into my palms until it began to hurt. Regret? Never. All I felt was hatred. I hated them for tricking me and hated myself for taking this long to notice. Fortunately, it was not too late. I did not let them get their way. I looked up with a cold smile. I don't regret it at all. I then reached for the documents I had prepared on my bedside table. My voice was hoarse but clear. I already signed them. Anna took the papers and read through them, her gaze serious. Divorce papers? I nodded slightly. Send them out right away. She did not ask any more questions. All right. She then paused before continuing. The stocks you invested in with my account have made it big. I'll transfer the money back to you right now. I lowered my gaze, my tone calm. All right. After a second, I chuckled, my gaze ice cold. Don't let them know. I'll make them pay, slowly once I recover. The next day, I heard panicked footsteps at the door. I closed my eyes and let out a breath, my fingers digging into the sheets. They found me after all. The door flew open, Jason taking the lead. When he saw me in the hospital bed, all the blood drained from his face. There was no hiding the panic in his eyes. "Nina, how could you be so rash? You misunderstood, I can explain." He ran toward me, his tone rushed. I looked up at him and scoffed. "Explain? Explain what? How you tricked me into becoming someone else's surrogate? Or how you comforted me while I was pregnant, only to turn around and comfort her as well?" Jason stiffened. His lips moved, but he could not say a word. Rachel rushed up to me in a slight panic, but she mostly seemed mocking and impatient. "Nina, how could you be so selfish? Do you have any idea what you've done? You killed—" I interrupted her with an ironic smirk. "What I did is none of your business. You should be more worried about what you'll give birth to 2 months from now." Rachel turned pale and took a step back, her hand holding her stomach while panic flooded her eyes. "What are you talking about?" I could not be bothered to watch her act. I glanced past the other people in the room, my gaze eventually settling on my parents' furious faces. As I thought, they had come here too. My mother stormed up to me angrily. "Nina, do you still take us for your parents? How could you make such an important decision without asking us first?" My father's voice hit a boiling rage as well. "No matter what, the baby was innocent. How could you do something so cruel?" I looked at them coldly. "You really are hypocrites, all of you. When you made me surrender my fiancé, you didn't ask me first. When you decided to make me Rachel's surrogate, you didn't ask me first. Now you're asking me what I'm doing?" I chuckled, but there was no warmth in my eyes. "Sorry, I'm just doing what you did and making decisions for myself." "You—" My mother turned white with rage, at a loss for words. Just then, Jason suddenly pulled out a document, his tone icy. "Nina, are you sure you have to take things this far?" I glanced at the document. It was the divorce papers I had Anna give him. I raised a brow and said coolly, "Do I need to spell it out for you?" Jason stared intently at me, as though suppressing some complex cocktail of emotions. After a few seconds, he suddenly said in a low voice, "Don't regret it later." I smiled. "The only thing I regret is not seeing all of your true colors earlier." My mother flew off the handle, jabbing a finger at me. "Nina Gordon, you disappoint us. Are you going to break ties with your family for something so trivial?" My father was just as furious. "If you insist, then don't blame us for doing the same. From today onward, you're no longer our daughter." With that, he led my mother out of the room without once looking back. The room fell quiet. Things had finally come to this. I leaned on my bed, my hands slowly clenching into fists. Staring at the ceiling, I felt nothing but calmness and relief in my heart. I was their daughter too, just like Rachel. So why was she always their favorite? Why did they ignore and suppress me no matter how hard I worked, no matter how well I did? Whatever. It did not matter anymore. In any case, starting today, I was no longer their sacrificial pawn. I recovered quickly in the hospital, and soon I got my divorce finished. I barely even felt anything when I divorced Jason. It was as though I had finally woken up from a dream and regained my freedom. After that, I headed straight for the biggest finance company in town. This time, I was no longer Jason's wife or the Gordon's daughter. I was going to make my own path. When I walked into the building, I suddenly noticed a wealthy-looking woman staring at me from a short distance away. She was elegant and dressed in the finest clothes, but she evidently paused when she saw me. Her gaze was complicated and full of emotion, as though she was seeing a loved one's shadow in my face. After some hesitation, she approached me. Her voice was gentle and slightly hopeful. "Hello, miss. Could we talk?" I was hesitant at first, since I was not sure of her motives, but for some reason I instinctively felt close to her. Eventually, I nodded. "Okay." More than a month later, I received the news that Rachel had delivered. Her in-laws threw a huge party to celebrate the birth of their grandson. I smirked when I heard the news. Without the baby I was carrying, I had no idea where she got that kid from. All I could say was that she found a replacement quite quickly. I wanted to let her enjoy the moment for a while before exposing her, but it just so happened that the wealthy woman had also been invited to the party. She looked at the invitation and turned to me. "Do you want to go with me?" My gaze darkened and I smiled. "Sure, let's go take a look." The party was extravagant. Rachel held a baby, pretending to smile as though she were the happiest woman in the world. My parents stood by her side proudly, echoing her every word. Jason was there too, following her around worriedly. I scoffed sarcastically when I saw them, while they went pale when they saw me. "What are you doing here?" I sauntered up to them, glancing at them mildly. "What's the matter? I'm here to congratulate my little sister. Anything wrong with that?" The corners of Rachel's lips twitched and she forced a smile. "Nina, you found the time to make it?" I smirked arrogantly. "Sometimes I really wonder if you're my sister, Rachel, considering your utter lack of brains." Her expression twisted, but I interrupted her before she could protest. "Shouldn't you be keeping a low profile right now? What's with the high-key party? Are you really that fearless?" Some other guests in the hall were already sensing something amiss, and they tried to calm things down. "Come on, you're all family, don't start a fight." However, Rachel could not suppress her rage any longer. She burst out laughing and said sharply, "Nina, you're just jealous of me. All our lives, everyone loved me more. Our parents favored me, your fiancé chose me, and even Jason. You lost your baby and your man. What's the matter? Are you here to pick a fight now because you can't bear to see me happy?" Others started whispering when she said that, watching us with curiosity and amusement. I smirked and walked toward her in-laws. "Since you said that, Now I have to say a little something, don't I? I had only taken a few steps forward when someone grabbed my arm. My mother's voice was shrill. Nina, you cursed child. You lost your baby and now you're out to ruin your sister's life? She finally gave birth. Everything's going perfectly. Why do you have to mess things up? I told you we've disowned you. Why are you still following us? The hall fell silent at her harsh words. Everyone's gazes were trained on us. Jason stepped forward too, frowning deeply. Nina, don't. I looked at him mockingly. Who was he trying to convince? Did he want me to stay quiet and not expose Rachel? Enough. Furious, my father slapped me across the face. We should never have adopted you back then. The sound of the slap echoed through the silent hall. My face was turned to the side from the impact of the slap, my cheek burning and my ears ringing. At the same time, my heart was calmer than ever before. So that was the truth. Everything made sense now. They were not showing favoritism toward Rachel. They simply never considered me a part of the family from the start. I was never their real daughter. I turned around slowly, looking at the man who called himself my father with a cold smirk. Just then. Stop. An angry woman's voice took everyone by surprise. The wealthy woman rushed over and shielded me with her body, glaring coldly at the Gordons. Her voice held a long-suppressed anger. I knew it. Now that you've personally admitted she isn't your daughter, it's time to put an end to this farce. Mrs. Gordon forced herself to sound calm. And who are you? We're disciplining our daughter. You have no right to interfere. Just then, Rachel's in-laws also came up to us. Their eyes widened slightly when they saw the woman, and they said respectfully, Aren't you Mrs. Buffett, from the richest family in town? Rachel and her parents instantly went pale. Mrs. Buffett looked at them coldly. Since she isn't your biological daughter, let's do a DNA test. I suspect she's our long-lost daughter. If she really is the child we lost more than 20 years ago, of course I have every right to interfere, especially considering what you've done to her all these years. The hall went into an uproar. I looked around at the chaos and smirked. After that, I turned to Rachel's in-laws, my tone cold but pointed. Since I'm not their real daughter and they never treated me as theirs, there's no need for me to defend their secrets. I paused and looked at the Gordons before staring at Rachel's in-laws. You had better investigate that baby carefully. Don't let them fool you. Rachel immediately went pale as a sheet. Rachel's lips trembled. She clearly wanted to explain, but her in-laws were no fools. When they saw her reaction, coupled with my warning, doubts began to form in their hearts. Rachel, is that baby the real thing? Her mother-in-law frowned, her tone solemn. Of course the baby's mine. How could you doubt me, Mom? Rachel's voice broke and she hugged the baby tightly as though afraid someone would steal him. Her overreaction made her seem even more suspicious. Her father-in-law's gaze was cold as he said slowly, We'll do a DNA test tomorrow. Rachel swayed unsteadily on her feet. Jason had been watching silently from the side this whole time, but he finally walked over with a frown. He had finally realized how badly things were going for them. He looked at me, his voice low. Nina, I didn't think things would turn out this way. I looked at him with a smirk. He hastily explained, I thought you kept bullying Rachel because you're more capable than her, and your parents favored you. That's why I felt bad for her. I didn't know the truth. He seemed like he was apologizing, but all I heard was a bunch of excuses. Did he really regret his actions? Or was he changing his tune because I could be the daughter of a wealthy family? I did not know, and I did not want to know. All I knew was he had to pay the price for lying and hurting me. I looked at him and said coldly, Doesn't matter if you regret it, Jason. You have to bear the consequences for your choices back then. His lips trembled as though he wanted to say more, but I no longer wanted to hear it. I turned around and left without looking back. Soon enough, my true identity was confirmed. I was the daughter of the city's richest family. My real parents could not hide their shock, guilt, and excitement when they found out. They had not stopped looking for me all these years, but they never imagined I would be this neglected and bullied at the Gordons this entire time. They pampered me with everything they had, trying to make up for the lost time. I just accepted everything with a smile. I knew it was not their fault, but the Gordons. However, I was all grown up now, and I did not want to rely on anyone else to make my comeback. I wanted to create my own path with my own strength. While my real parents felt bad for me, they understood my resolve and eventually agreed. Without my investment acumen and strategy, Jason's company began to decline. A few bad judgments caused their stock price to plummet, and soon they were deep in debt. To make things worse for him, I was no longer his supporter, but his worst enemy. My family was extremely wealthy, and while my family respected my wish to be independent, they still started attacking his company once they found out what he had done to me. He begged everyone he knew for help, only to find out he had become a laughingstock in the industry. Without my help, he was just an unexceptional businessman. He did not even stand a chance of getting back up again. Of course, Rachel's baby was not hers. She had found him somewhere and tried to fool her in-laws with him. As soon as the DNA results came out, they kicked her out of the family. The once proud Rachel now had nothing left to her name. She stumbled home, her eyes red and her emotions on the verge of breaking down. She threw open the doors and cried, Mom, Dad, help me. However, the only response was a stony silence in the living room. Her parents sat on the couch, their expressions dark. The once extravagant living room now looked desolate. Her father chain-smoked cigarettes, looking scarily gloomy. Her mother looked furious and haggard, as though she had aged decades in a few days. Rachel sensed something was wrong in the air and hurried over to them. Mom, Dad, help me think of something. My in-laws abandoned me. I lost everything. You have to save me. Her mother looked up abruptly, eyes burning with anger and disappointment. You want us to save you? We can't even save ourselves. How do you have the nerve to come back? Rachel froze up. What? Her father put out his cigarette abruptly, his tone cold. Did you think your actions wouldn't affect us? You thought your victory was assured when you provoked Nina? And then look what happened. You ruined everything. Do you know what our situation is like right now? We're being ostracized by upper society. His gaze was full of rage and regret as he glared at Rachel. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be in this state right now. Rachel turned pale, her fingers shaking. No way. That can't be. Her mother sneered. If you hadn't insisted on stealing Nina's fiancé and taking her off, she wouldn't have turned on us like this. She's the Buffett's daughter now. No matter what we do, there's no way we can beat them. You're just always good for nothing. Rachel's heart twisted in her chest, and she finally lost all control. So it's all my fault now? Weren't you exactly the same? You told me to steal her fiancé. You let me bully her. She screamed hysterically. Haven't you always defended me? Now that things are going pear-shaped, you're pinning all the blame on me. Her father slammed the door, roaring, Don't you yell at us? Look what you've done. If Nina had just given birth to that baby, your in-laws wouldn't have suspected a thing. But what happened? You let her provoke you, and you couldn't even lie properly. You exposed yourself. If you hadn't personally cast doubt on the baby, they wouldn't have gotten a DNA test. How could you be so stupid? Rachel's breath caught, and her face went pale. Her father scoffed, his eyes full of disappointment. We've protected you all your life, and the result? You're absolutely good for nothing. Rachel flew into a full-blown panic. She finally realized that after her in-laws abandoned her, even her parents had lost their last ounce of patience toward her. She stood rooted to the spot, her mind gone blank. She had always assumed she was her parents' beloved daughter, but now she realized even they were starting to resent her. I thought Rachel would keep a low profile after that, but she still had not given up. One day, Anna sent me a link. Look, she said coldly. She's utterly shameless. I clicked on the link and saw a long trending post titled, All My Life She Stole Everything I Had. The contents of the post were Rachel's so-called sob story. She said I bullied her all her life, using my status as the eldest daughter to take everything from her. She said I was calculative and two-faced, acting kind on the surface while forcing her to compromise in secret. She said I even forced my fiancé on her, and she had no choice but to marry him. She said I had become even more arrogant after regaining my status as the Buffett's daughter, taking revenge on her, forcing her to get divorced, and ruining her reputation. Her every word made her sound like the poor bullied victim. Within a few short hours, her post had topped the trending charts. Quite a few people believed her and started insulting me. My real parents were red-faced with rage when they saw the post. My mother trembled with anger, saying coldly, That woman is shameless. No, we can't let this continue to gain traction. I'll get someone to take down the post. My father was enraged too, and he was already calling his PR team. If she wants to make this a war of public opinion, we'll play her game. However, I shook my head. There's no need for that. They looked at me, surprised. If we take down the post, people will take that as an admission of guilt, I said slowly, my gaze cold. Since she dares to make those bold-faced lies, I'll just expose her lies in public and shatter her reputation to smithereens. After that, I took out my phone and pulled out an audio recording. I had taken it back when I stood outside the Gordons' home that day and heard their entire plan. Nina is nothing. Everything she had in her life was rightfully mine. Don't worry, we gave you her fiancé. We'll give you her baby too. You just have to wait until the baby is born, Rachel. Have some patience for now. I put the entire recording online. As soon as it was uploaded, the court of public opinion turned in an instant. Still, there were some people who did not believe it, claiming that the recording could have been edited. Just then, a familiar figure spoke out online. Jason publicly apologized to me. The internet exploded. Damn, the treacherous ex is only speaking up now? Are you crazy? How could you make your wife someone else's surrogate? What the hell were you thinking, Jason? I just couldn't understand it. Is he trying to win her back? Unfortunately, he isn't anywhere near worthy of her anymore. Jason, you should go to hell with Rachel. After the public apology, Jason called me and asked to meet. I know you don't want to see me, Nina, but there are some things I want to tell you in person. I turned him down. He had no right to affect my mood anymore. The next day when I went out, however, a car suddenly sped toward me, the screeching brakes piercing through the air.
At the very last second, someone jumped toward me and pushed me aside. Bam. He was knocked down to the ground, his blood pooling on the road. The police sirens blared, and the cops quickly apprehended the driver of the wayward car. Once the door opened, Rachel rushed out like a madwoman, her hair tangled and her expression ferocious. Nina, it's all your fault, you bitch. You cost me everything. Why are you still fine while I'm suffering? She screamed hysterically, her eyes red with hatred and insanity. The police pinned her down to the ground, but she struggled like mad, still screeching. I stood to the side, watching the commotion calmly. Jason lay in a pool of blood, his face pale and his complicated gaze fixed on me. Nina. His voice was hoarse as he tried to grab a corner of my clothes. I took a step back to avoid him. Before he could say anything else, Rachel suddenly broke down. Why are you protecting her now? She glared at him with bloodshot eyes. Weren't you always on my side? Weren't you going to help me? Why did you change? Jason chuckled weakly, his voice pained. I was wrong, Rachel. I know that now, so why won't you wake up? Wake up? Rachel laughed as though she had heard the funniest joke. I was never wrong. I only did what you did before. You tricked her for me and now you're blaming me? Her eyes were wild with insanity. Do you regret it now? Unfortunately for you, she won't even look your way anymore. Jason's pupils dilated as though she had struck him across the face. He finally realized how foolish he had been back then. I no longer cared about their mess. I just looked at him calmly and said, the ambulance is here. He was silent for a long time before saying hoarsely, Nina, can we still go back to the way we were? I chuckled. Go back to the way we were? He was the one who destroyed everything, and now he was trying to have it all back? Unfortunately, the me from back then died on that surgery bed. I looked at him, my gaze cold and distant. There is no we anymore, Jason. Don't think you can redeem yourself by acting remorseful. You chose to marry me, you lied and said you couldn't conceive, you turned around and tricked me to make her happy. And now you finally say you're sorry? Do you really think that'll work? You think you're upset and in pain? Don't you find that hilarious? My every word pierced his heart like a handful of sharp knives. In the end, he slowly put his hand down, his expression full of pain and regret. Too bad his feelings were none of my business anymore. In the end, Rachel could not escape the judgment of the law. She attempted vehicular manslaughter and showed no remorse. So my real parents used their connections to send her straight to jail. This time, she was not coming back out. Her parents, the Gordons who had spoiled her rotten, finally panicked. They found me and begged for mercy. Her mother wept and squeezed my hand, pleading, Nina, no matter what, we still raised you all these years. Rachel's still so young. Do you have to be so ruthless? Her father looked unprecedentedly ashamed, saying softly, your life is good now, isn't it? Why do you have to go so far? I looked at them, my heart completely unstirred. They never raised me out of kindness. They only wanted a sacrifice to make Rachel's life better. Now that Rachel was getting her just desserts, they wanted me to forgive her? How ridiculous. I pulled my hand back and smirked at them. I told you, our ties were severed from the moment you disowned me. Don't bother trying to emotionally blackmail me. You're not worthy. They turned pale. I looked at their expressions of despair and felt nothing but irony. In the end, Rachel lost her mind. Jason was permanently paralyzed. The Gordons lost everything. Everyone got what they deserved, and the dust settled. I had finally broken free of that heartless, manipulative family and found my true path in life. The ridiculous dream was finally over. As for the ones who betrayed me, they eventually paid the price. As for me, I no longer looked back.